Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish come in at number 11 in our way too early Gridiron Expert Top 25. Despite a disappointing 0-2 start to the 2022 season, Notre Dame managed to bounce back, going 9-2 down the stretch, finishing the year at 9-4 with a big-time win over South Carolina in their bowl game. Now, 2023, the expectations are even higher. I don't think Notre Dame's going to get off to a slow start this year. They landed the most highly touted transfer quarterback in the portal, and Sam Hartman coming in from Wake Forest. He is now their quarterback. Yes, they lose Tommy Rees over to Alabama, but I still think the Notre Dame offense will be just fine. They've got a great trio of running backs. They're going to have a very experienced offensive line. They're expected to have roughly 6 starters back on defense. It's the second full year under Marcus Freeman. Everything seems to be coming together for Notre Dame to have a very special season in South Bend. And today, guys, we're here to take a look at the Fighting Irish's schedule for this upcoming season and maybe share a little bit about how they might do. So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert again. We're so glad that you could join us today. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below, including, of course, our expert picks, and including some of the more exclusive content that we have there, guys, because here at the Gridiron Expert, football never dies. The football season never ends. We are talking college football with you 24/7, 365, daily content, to get you all the way up until this upcoming season. If you love college football, this is the place for you. All the more reason to subscribe to us, all the more reason to hit that notification button so you don't miss out on any of our future content. We want you to become a part of our GE Nation and what we are building right here at this channel. So let's take a look at Notre Dame. Let's take a look at their schedule. A Fighting Irish team that, again, is right on the outside of our top 10 heading into the year. A Notre Dame team that has legitimate college football playoff hopes and is a legitimate college football playoff contender. You take a look at their schedule, it's not terrible. Keyword, not terrible. There are a few big-time games on the slate. They open the year up in week 0 against Navy in Ireland. So that'll be a fun one. They beat Navy 35-32 last year. Barely got past the midshipmen, but Navy, of course, dealing with a new coach right now. A lot of uncertainties with the midshipmen in their future, but will be a very historic game over in Ireland. Will be one of the most marquee big-time matchups to watch in week 0. So that'll be a fun one. The real week 1, they host Tennessee State. It'll be Notre Dame's first ever FCS opponent that they will face. So a bit of a history there for some. Not great history to be making, but there is a first time for everything. That is the direction most college football programs are going now. So Notre Dame will play their first ever FCS opponent on September 2nd in their home opener against Tennessee State. They go on the road to NC State after that. NC State team that loses a couple of key pieces, especially Devin Leary, now off to Kentucky. Bit of a disappointing year for the Wolfpack in 2022, but certainly can't afford to overlook them on their home turf. Central Michigan on September 16th, most would consider to be a victory. And then for us, that's where the key stretch begins for Notre Dame, is on September 23rd. There's about a 4-game stretch here for Notre Dame that I think can really define their season and show whether or not the Fighting Irish are legitimate college football playoff contenders, or if maybe a New Year's Six bowl game might be the ceiling for this team. And obviously it starts on September 23rd when they host Ohio State. Can't get much bigger than that. I mean, this has the potential to be a top 10 showdown in South Bend. It was a top 10 showdown in Columbus last year in the season opener, with Ohio State winning that game 21-10. So it's kind of interesting to see Notre Dame and Ohio State facing off so late in the season, facing off in what will officially be week 4, right there at the kind of end of September. It's interesting to not see that as being one of the more earlier games of the year, but still, it's a big one. Notre Dame has an opportunity to win this game on their home turf to show, hey, we can beat the big dogs. We can beat the elites of the elites. We can beat other college football playoff contenders and prove that we ourselves are one. So huge, huge game against Ohio State, a team that fell just short in the college football playoff semifinals last year to Georgia, a team that will now be dealing with a new quarterback themselves after C.J. Stroud has departed. So a couple key pieces for Ohio State there, but Notre Dame, fortunately, has to face them in week 4 after Ohio State had some opportunities to figure out those new pieces. But regardless, should be a top 10 matchup, should be a really, really fun one to watch. A battle between 2 legitimate playoff contenders that will ultimately define both teams' season in the end. Then they go to Duke and Louisville. 2 big games there. Can't afford to overlook Duke, in my opinion. An 8-win team under Mike Elko last year was a very kind of one of the bigger surprises in college football. Duke team that had been horrible now was contending in the ACC and will again this year, especially with quarterback Riley Leonard returning. So Can't afford to overlook Duke. To me, that's kind of the biggest trap game on Notre Dame's schedule because you're either riding the high off a victory over Ohio State, and you'll get caught riding that high against Duke and you'll lose, or you lose a heartbreaker to Ohio State, you're hungover, and Duke beats you. Duke is more than capable, in my opinion, of beating Notre Dame. They have to be mindful of that. That's a major trap game. That is why it's in our key 4-game stretch here. Louisville obviously dealing with a new coach. Again, it's back on the road. Jeff Brom, the new head coach for the Cardinals. So the offense should be rolling for the Cardinals at this point in the year, but I expect Marcus Freeman defense to probably be a little bit better. Again, we're not predicting games here. We're going to predict the game for later on here in a few months, but I would think many would predict Notre Dame to beat Louisville. And then USC is what rounds out that key game stretch. They lost to the Trojans 38-27 last year in LA. Caleb Williams is back. That's huge. But the USC defense might have some question marks. Notre Dame getting to host USC in South Bend is huge. And you look at this, I mean, that 4-game stretch, Ohio State, Duke, Louisville, USC, the bookends are 2 college football playoff contenders. Ohio State's in the hunt for the playoff. USC's in the hunt for the playoff. Both those teams could win their respective conferences in the Big Ten and the Pac-12. That's huge for Notre Dame. It's huge to improve their resume. If they can just win one of those, and obviously win out. If you have an 11-1 Notre Dame team that maybe would have a win over Ohio State or USC, and then this year would have a win over Clemson, we'll get to that in a second, it'd be hard to leave that one-loss Notre Dame team out of the college football playoff because they would have one of the more impressive victories out of any Power 5 team in the country. And, of course, Notre Dame isn't independent. So USC going to be tough, but very beneficial that Notre Dame gets them in South Bend. Very beneficial they get Ohio State in South Bend. So 2 of the biggest games of the year, Notre Dame gets to host. They get their bye week on October 21st. They come back home to play Pittsburgh, a team that they certainly cannot afford to overlook, but getting them at home is huge. And then Clemson, the other big game there. Clemson, we don't know what to expect from them, right? New quarterback in Cade Klubnik, new offensive coordinator in Garrett Riley. That's huge for the Tigers. Can Notre Dame manage this game in Death Valley? They beat Clemson 35-14 at home last year. Completely different season now. Clemson, really for them, it's ultimately going to come down to offense. You know, what will Cade Klubnik do? What can Garrett Riley do for this offense that has been pretty mediocre, below average really, these last 2 years for Clemson? Because we expect the Notre Dame defense to be pretty solid as it usually is, and that's what you'd expect under Marcus Freeman. If the Clemson offense isn't up to par, even though it's in Death Valley, I think Notre Dame could take them with that defense. So you look at the schedule again. After Clemson, they get another bye week. They play Wake Forest, which would be kind of cool to see. Senior night for Notre Dame. Sam Hartman facing off against his former school. That's going to be an interesting storyline in and of itself. That'll be a fun game to watch. And they close the year off against Stanford. Yes, they lost to Stanford last year, 16-14. But if Notre Dame is in playoff contention at this point, I don't know if I can see them losing to the Cardinals, especially with a new coach and a lot of new changes out west for them. So really, for Notre Dame's season, we mentioned the 4-game stretch from September 23rd to October 14th. Notre Dame's season comes down to 3 games. Ohio State, USC, and the road game at Clemson. Those are the 3 biggest games on Notre Dame's schedule. 3 biggest games, and 2 of them are at home. 2 of them come in a 4-week stretch. That's crucial. That's tough. But they get them at home. They get them in South Bend. And as we mentioned, if Notre Dame can split those 2 games, if they're a 1-loss team going into that road game at Clemson, knowing what your final 2 games are like after that, you win at Clemson, an 11-1 Notre Dame would have a very, very strong case for the college football playoff despite a loss. So the theory out there that Notre Dame has to go undefeated to get into the playoff, I think can be debunked this year as long as they beat one of Ohio State or USC. Beat both, though, you're still looking really, really dang good. 3 games will define the season for Notre Dame. 2 of them are in South Bend. This is absolutely a team that, with Sam Hartman at quarterback, assuming he can stay healthy, can contend for the college football playoff. So, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below because, again, guys, here at the Gridiron Expert, the college football season never ends, and we want you to be a part of that with us as a part of our GE Nation. So like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification button so you don't miss out on any of our future content. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.